Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of BrainScratch Searchlight. I'm starting here on my Twitter feed. I have a tweet from BrainScratcher Ben Barnes at Lord and Arts. Love the new Searchlight on YouTube. Any chance of you doing one on Ben Needham? And it got several retweets and likes, and definitely captured my interest once I started looking into this case. I'm actually on the Twitter feed now for Find Ben Needham. Ben Needham missing 25 years this year. Follow and raise awareness at Find Ben Needham. And there's a link here, picture of Ben with his mother. Ben went missing at the age of 21 months in Kos, which is an island in Greece. He was staying there with his grandparents while his mother was at work. His father had already moved back to the UK. Apparently he wasn't able to find work out there. These are young parents. I saw an interview with his father. I think he was only 21 at the time. And unfortunately, Ben was playing outside, and the grandparents had noticed it had been a couple minutes since they had heard him, and they went outside to try to find him, and they couldn't. And that's just the beginning, unfortunately, of where this nightmare starts for this family. Although it is worth noting, for everything they're facing, there's just something that I love about doing these types of stories, because you get to see people be extremely strong and keep rallying back to collect as much hope as they can to move forward. And Ben's mother in particular has done an amazing job over the past 25 years of kind of recollecting herself after, they'll chase down a certain lead, it won't pan out, and she really just gets back on the horse and pulls it all back together and starts pressing in the new direction. This case is compared a bit to the Madeleine McCann case, which I have an episode of BrainScratch about you can watch. And in some ways, she has leveraged the Madeleine McCann case to bring more resources to the search for Ben. Out here in the US, we kind of have this thing where if a pretty young blonde girl who happens to be affluent goes missing, she gets a ton of media coverage. If it's a boy, even less so. If it's a minority, even less so. And it's very unfortunate. However, Ben's mom has been able to kind of use the Madeleine McCann case as an example and saying, hey, look, she's speaking directly, sending letters to the Prime Minister, look at all the resources you've assigned to that case. Why is Ben any different? And because of that, the case has taken some pretty good turns in terms of resources coming together, particularly over the past few years. There's a lot of new engagement and attention around this. And I think a huge credit also needs to go to the website. Actually, we'll take a look at it here real quick. This is helpfindben.co.uk. It's an excellent website. You can tell the person that is managing it is very passionate. Of course, the Twitter account has just thousands of followers, people that are extremely passionate to find Ben. And I am now jumping on that bandwagon and becoming a part of this ride with them. Hopefully some more exposure here on Searchlight can help this case even more, and hopefully raise more attention to Ben Needham and help bring him home. But I want you to imagine for a second that you are a 25-year-old man, and you might not even be aware that you are a missing person. That is really where this case strikes me as being extremely difficult to solve. There is one person that popped up. They didn't have any pictures of themselves before the age of 2. Unfortunately, they were ruled out. But you might not even know that your parents really aren't your parents. You might not realize that you were taken from another family. And that is one of the challenges that I see in this case. They've done some searches around the farm looking for any remains. They have not found any. The family is extremely hopeful that he is alive. He just might be unaware of what has happened to him. And I tend to agree with them. For a child to go missing at such a young age, and for them to not find any remains, I believe is a very good sign that he might have been abducted, might have been given to a family to be raised as their own, something along those lines. And that's definitely one of the theories that keeps coming up around this case over and over. So we're going to start with the popular opinion, as I like to call it, from Wikipedia on the disappearance of Ben Needham. Ben Needham, born the 29th of October 1989 in Sheffield, disappeared on the 24th of July 1991 at the age of 21 months from the Greek island of Kos. Real quick, let's just jump over. Kos is here. You can see you got a little tiny dot on this island. That gives you some idea of where it is. Despite numerous reported sightings over the years, no trace of the British child has ever been found. It is one of the longest missing persons cases in British history. Ben Needham was on holiday with his parents in Kos, to which his maternal grandparents had immigrated in the village of Iraklis. Hope I'm getting that right. When he went missing on the 24th of July in 1991, on the day of his disappearance, Ben had been left in the care of his grandparents while his mother went to work at a local hotel. Ben had been coming in and out of the house and was playing outside a farmhouse the family were renovating when, at approximately 2:30 p.m., the adults realized he had disappeared. The family first searched the area for Ben, assuming he had wandered off, or that of their teenage son, Stefan, had taken him out on his moped. When no trace of the boy was found, the police were notified. However, the police extensively questioned the Needhams, holding them as prime suspects and delaying informing airports and docks. The family seems to believe that Ben was kidnapped and there was a high likelihood that he was removed from the island very quickly. And the fact that there was a delay in the police informing the docks and the airports to be looking for a small, young, blonde boy might have actually damaged their chances of finding him, if that is the case. Now, the other popular theory that seems to keep coming up in the research I've done around this is the potential for gypsies. Apparently there are large areas of almost like gypsy camps, and they're places where the police don't necessarily poke their nose in. And it seems like they did not do a very good job of investigating those areas looking for Ben, and it is likely, I don't know how likely, that Ben might have been taken by those gypsies to be raised by them or given to another family. And how likely has changed recently, because I believe it was just 2 years ago, a young blonde girl was actually found in one of these gypsy camps, and they DNA tested her against her parents, and she did not match her supposed parents at all. So that has kind of renewed interest in the possibility of that theory, and has given Ben's mother some more legs in terms of that argument that, hey, he might actually still be out there. He might have been raised as a gypsy, not even know it. But honestly, this search has gone practically worldwide. We're going to get into a news story a little bit later, but there's been just reported information coming from many parts of the globe about Ben. So I think it's pretty important we at least cover the known photographs of Ben. So of course these are going to be when he's very young, and this is now 25 years ago. So it might be a little hard to imagine what he looks like now, but several composite sketches, new digital sketches have been done. Sure looks like a cute boy. And just to point out, this website, like I mentioned, has done very well. There's a ton of information here. They've got, in particular in the videos section, if you check that out, they have the news stories from back in the time that this was actually going on, all the way to current developments, numerous interviews with his mother. And here we get into some of the the composite sketches about how he may look. We can see him here approximately 11 to 14, approximately 17 to 20, and approximately 20 to 22. Eyes are blue, hair naturally blonde or light brown, missing at 21 months, now 25 years old. Features a coffee color birthmark above his right knee, a red raspberry type birthmark on the nape of his neck. So definitely a few ways to identify him. I've also found on Facebook at Help Find Ben Needham this timeline of events since his disappearance. And I'm not going to go over all every step of this timeline here, but I highly recommend you check it out. As usual, I'm going to have links for all the sites that I'm reviewing in the description box below, so you can dive into this yourself. Reading through this timeline of events, I believe it's written by his mother. It's both heartbreaking and it's very hopeful. Like I mentioned, she keeps chasing down angles, and when they don't pan out, she seems to maybe dip a little bit, but then all of a sudden there is a new angle that she is chasing down. She has done an amazing job in terms of contacting her local authorities, trying to get people to help her. Recently they have assigned a new budget to his investigation that is giving them much more resources to travel back to Greece, to ask more questions, to interview more people. And reading this is, I hate to say it's almost like a detective story, but it's just it's a very good read. I highly recommend you go through this complete timeline so you can see all the work that his family has done in terms of trying to find him, now including his sister, who has never even met him, and I saw an interview with her as well. And it just keeps hitting me that the likelihood is this guy does not even know that he's missing, and that makes this extremely hard to crack. This is a very hard case to solve, and that would just be the first step, even if they find Ben, to reacclimate him to his true birth family. Man, that is just a challenge that I think definitely his mother would be up for if the steps she's taken so far are any sign. This is not a woman that gives up very easily. So just to give you a little more information on it, there is a bit of a recent development, and his family is asking that everyone please take this with a bit of a grain of salt. But this is from dailymail.co.uk. After a decade of blunders by forces here and abroad, a bizarre twist in the search for Ben Needham leads police to Canada. British man Ben Gleave, 28, was made to undergo a DNA test in Canada. He believes he was ruled out when he heard nothing back from detectives. Instead, a series of disastrous blunders led to his DNA sample being lost. South Yorkshire police only began searching for the lost swab last week. So something very strange happened here in that apparently the Royal Canadian Mounted Police went and interviewed Ben Gleave. Here's a picture of Ben here. Swabbed him for DNA, but then sent the DNA to a private investigator for some reason instead of getting it back to the proper authorities, which that is a big question. How the heck that happens, we have no idea. That private investigator then lost the sample. So tragic series of missteps here. And one of the most compelling pieces in this article is right here, these photos. On the left is Mr. Gleave at age 11, and on the right we have another one of these, they call it a photo fit, but basically a digital composite sketch of what Ben would look like. And that is not terribly far off. I could kind of see it going either way. Ben Gleave says that this has all come about because his mother had a former friend that is kind of an intrusive neighbor, and they had a falling out, and since then that neighbor seems to be trying to cause trouble for them, and that's where this information is coming out. Once again, I keep pointing back to, if Ben is truly missing, he probably doesn't know who he really is. So is there some likelihood that Ben Gleave could be Ben Needham? I think there is a chance. It's definitely something they're looking into. Unfortunately, as of right now, there is no conclusion because they've had to redo the DNA test. He's now living in Ireland. I believe they've already got new DNA sample from him. So now it's just a matter of them matching that up to Ben Needham. And what's kind of a good turn in all of this is this case, and Ben's mother in particular searching for Ben. When this started back in '91, of course, DNA was not as good as it is now. Wasn't really used in cases. I think it might have just started being used in cases right about then. but they needed to build a DNA profile for Ben to keep this investigation going currently, and she was able to work within the government and to have them approve a release of his blood sample from when he was born. And that is a bit of a turn because he is now over 18, and typically to get that type of sample you would need the adult's consent, and of course the adult can't consent to that because he's obviously missing. So that is kind of a good move for other missing persons cases. You might see other people use that avenue and quote the Ben Needham case to give parents the same flexibility in terms of getting a DNA profile for their missing loved ones, particularly if they were missing before DNA was as popular of an investigative tool as it is now. So that's one little step where this case has definitely, hopefully, changed things for the better in the UK. And also outside of that, I think it's a pretty cool thing that they were able to leverage the Madeleine McCann case and get more resources for this search for Ben and continue it going as strongly as it is right now. And if you read through that timeline, you'll see there's some years where it looks like very few things are going on, and then really from 2012 on, there is just a flurry of activity around this, including some great social media work. And once again, I just have to call out whoever's managing the Twitter page, the website. They're doing an excellent job of rallying attention around this. They're having certain days where they're doing, like Twitter blasts on certain days to find Ben. Celebrities have been chiming in, retweeting their support. So very good about raising attention and keeping this search going for Ben. And hopefully someday this person will realize, hey, maybe I am that guy. Maybe I should get this checked out. And maybe one of those leads will finally turn into the resolution that Ben's family is desperately, desperately seeking. So if you have any information about this, maybe you were in cause around the time of his disappearance in '91, I have included information in the description box below where you can contact the authorities, including their phone number and their email address. Of course, please feel free to comment on this case in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts. There are several different theories about what might have happened here, but it appears to me from everything I've researched that this missing person, there's a high likelihood that Ben is still alive and he's out there somewhere, and he's waiting for the truth to find him. And I hope that that happens someday soon. Thank you so much for joining me on this edition of BrainScratch Searchlight. I can't do it without the support of all you out there. And if this case compels you to, please share it. That's another thing that's going to make this whole Searchlight idea really work. It's one thing for me to post it and for me to share it on my social networks. It turns into a whole other thing when you post it and share it on yours. That's really where the exposure can happen. I know I've got a lot of viewers internationally and especially out in the UK, so please get this around, get some more eyes looking for Ben Needham, and let's see if we can help be a part of this giant effort to bring this family back together. Thank you so much. I will see you on the next show on the Geek and Dorks channel. Take care.